Good evening. On Valentine's Day this year, Arvind Kejriwal resigned as Delhi Chief Minister after just 49 days in power. And now, after 8.5 months without a government, Delhi finally gets a second chance. Welcome to the news tonight. I'm Zaka Jacob. These are the headlines. The decks have been cleared for fresh elections in Delhi. All parties in the state admit they cannot form a government. The LG is expected to submit his report to the Home Ministry tomorrow. It's the southern discomfort for the Congress party. It's in trouble in Tamil Nadu. Former Union Minister G.K. Vasan quits the party. He claims he will soon name his new outfit. India is on alert at the Wagah border. Pakistan detains more than 20 suspects for Sunday's deadly blast. And the battle lines deepen over Ukraine. Separatists vote for a new pro-Russian parliament in Donetsk. They name Alexander Zakharchenko as the head of this new republic. Our top story on the news tonight. The national capital is staring at yet another assembly election. The BJP is reportedly now keen on fresh polls after dilly-dallying for more than 8 months. Despite being the single largest party in the Delhi Assembly, the BJP today admitted to the Lieutenant Governor that it does not have the numbers to prove a majority. So, 2 senior state leaders of the BJP met the governor and said that they were ready for polls. So did the Aam Aadmi Party and so did the Congress. The LG is now expected to recommend dissolution of the House and call for fresh elections.
Delhi was abuzz with scenes like this just a year back. No one expected another election so soon. Now it's inevitable. BJP has made it clear to Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung that it is ready to seek a fresh mandate in the national capital. State BJP Chief Satish Upadhyay and leader Jagdish Mukhi met Jung on Monday morning to convey the stand of the single largest party. The LG also held consultations with Aam Aadmi Party and Congress delegations on Monday. All 3 parties voted for a fresh round of polls.
पार्टी ने एलजी को जो अपना स्टैंड लेना था वो स्टैंड हमने एलजी को बता दिया है और एलजी अब इसके बारे में बताएंगे कि आगे क्या करना है।
हमने बताया कि हमारा स्टैंड वही है जो 8 महीने पहले था। हम भी चाहते हैं कि दिल्ली में फ्रेश इलेक्शन हो ताकि लोग महंगी बिजली से, महंगे पानी से और रिश्वतखोरी से इनसे निजात पाने के लिए दोबारा से इलेक्शन में जा सकें।
पार्टी का जो स्टैंड था वो मैंने ऑनरेबल लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर साहब को कन्वे कर दिया है कि कांग्रेस हर हालत में ये चाहती है कि तुरंत प्रभाव से दिल्ली की विधानसभा को डिसॉल्व किया जाए और नया चुनाव जल्दी से जल्दी अनाउंस किया जाए।
LG's office issued a statement later in the evening saying none of the parties are ready to form a government. He has sent his letter to the president and is now awaiting not to dissolve the assembly and clear the path for fresh polls. The state has been under president's rule for the past 10 months. With inputs from Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So the LG is now expected to submit his report to the Union Home Ministry and subsequently dissolve the House. Fresh elections are expected here in Delhi. So what's taken the BJP 8.5 months to change its mind? Shekhar Iyer is the political editor of the Deccan Herald newspaper. He's now joining us live on the news tonight. Thanks for joining us here on the show. The BJP reportedly for all these 8 months or so had been toying with the idea of forming a government here in Delhi, despite the fact that it didn't have the numbers. There were attempts to try and break the Aam Aadmi Party. That didn't quite happen. They were reportedly not keen on elections for these last 8 months. What's changed now?
Well, I understand finally the Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself prevailed on BJP President Amit Shah and other leaders that there is no point in, attempting a situation which will invite the charges of horse trading and trying to break some parties or make some legislators resign. That's the kind of situation which Modi did not want. And following the victories they have seen in both Maharashtra and in the neighboring Haryana, there is a bit of enthusiasm and confidence among the central leaders. Okay. The problem the BJP was facing the last few months or so was the legislators themselves, the BJP MLAs themselves were not keen on election. And Amit Shah's view was, why not, explore the option of trying to form the government, and even if the government were to last for a few days, manage to show that this government can be a better government than one headed by Kejriwal, and try to bring some steps and measures that could impress the electorate.
So if these fresh elections were to happen sometime early next year, Where are the three principal political players? I mean, who is at an advantage, who is not?
Well, I would see a situation where, given the enthusiasm that is there in the ranks of Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP, perhaps the tussle could be between these two parties.
Okay.
Congress, for some reasons, doesn't appear to be very clear about its objective, because it is still to recover from the kind of drubbing it got in the last Lok Sabha elections. Therefore, I'm not too sure how the Congress would go about it, because the Congress would have to take a call on the leadership, question also. Whereas in the case of BJP, BJP too would not project any Delhi leader, or maybe it could take a call on that. But ultimately, it would try to ride on the shoulders of the Prime Minister Modi himself.
Okay, which is what they did in Haryana and seemed to be a successful strategy for the BJP. Stay on with us, Shekhar Iyer. He was referring to the problems for the Congress party, not just here in Delhi and up north, but also in the south today, where in a sense, history repeated itself in Tamil Nadu. Former Union Shipping Minister G.K. Vasan resigned from the Congress. He's going to start his new outfit. He claims he has the backing of more than half of the Tamil Nadu state unit of the Congress. But will this Congress offshoot, as it were, make an impact in what is already one of the most crowded political fields in any state in this country? History repeats itself in Tamil Nadu. 18 years after his dad split the Congress, G.K. Vasan is now following in his father's footsteps. The former Union Shipping Minister announced at a packed press conference in Chennai that his time in the grand old party was up.
I am happy that today we have floated a new party on the interest of our cadres and people of Tamil Nadu.
Using the same slogan that his late father G.K. Moopanar had used in 1996, Vibrant Tamil Nadu, Prosperous India, Vasan outlined his differences with the Congress leadership. But in a state where the Congress's vote share has fallen to under 5%, what chance does a Congress offshoot have? Mr. Vasan is unperturbed.
That a new approach, a new way, a new path can be given to the cadres.
The decision comes at a time when Tamil Nadu politics is in deep flux. Former Chief Minister Jayalalitha is out of active politics for at least the next 6 years after being convicted in a corruption case. The main opposition DMK is still picking up the pieces after getting decimated in the Lok Sabha polls. The BJP is trying to get a foothold in a state where it's never really had any presence. But the state Congress, in the midst of all of this, is unfazed.
Even people like Periyar, Rajaji and so many stalwarts in Tamil Nadu left the party for the past so many years. Even Moopanar left the party at one section. But Congress will not be affected by that.
The name of the new party and its election symbol will be announced at a rally in Tiruchi. Mr. Vasan's father, Moopanar's party, had a short lifespan from 1996 till his death in 2002, after which it merged with the Congress. Mr. Vasan will do well to pay heed to that old saying about history. When it repeats itself, first time it's a tragedy, the second time it's a farce. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. All right, so how big a blow is this to the Congress party in Tamil Nadu? We're still in conversation with Shekhar Iyer, political editor of the Deccan Herald newspaper. Mr. Vasan, at least in the context of Tamil Nadu politics, is by no means a real mass leader in the lines of his father. But given how sparse the Congress's political field in Tamil Nadu is, this is quite a big blow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a blow for the Congress. And as for Mr. Vasan himself, see, he was among those leaders who, right before even the Lok Sabha elections, wanted the party to take a line, either go with the DMK or try to talk to Jayalalitha. This is something he has been mooting. Now, the strength that Vasan counts on is the fact that the organizational machinery which the Tamil Manila Congress had prior to its merger with the Congress, that can be revived easily. And he was seen as a person, having a strong faction. And he had running feud with the former finance minister, P. Chidambaram.
That's right.
And finally, the High Command had to appoint Jnana Desikan, who is actually belonging to the Vasan faction. But ultimately, I think after the Lok Sabha elections, Vasan felt with Congress in a state of drift, particularly at the central level, and nobody taking a call as to what should be done in the future, Vasan probably felt it was now or never that he should get about, bringing all his followers together and start to revive his party. And his strength remains the fact that the Tamil Maanila Congress, the old erstwhile party, has its set up, all over the state. So he's counting on that network to, revive his party.
There were some big names as well in that press conference today. There was Peter Alphonse, who's a former MP. He's a strongman in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. Mr. Vasan claims he has the support of more than 30 out of 59 district presidents in Tamil Nadu. We'll see how it plays out. The state goes to polls in 2016. Shekhar Iyer from the Deccan Herald newspaper, thanks for joining us with your thoughts and opinions here on the news tonight.
Thank you.
So 2016 could be an interesting year, electorally at least. Tamil Nadu is one of the big states that goes to polls. So does West Bengal. And that state is the BJP's next big target. It not only wants to increase its support base, its vote share there, but it also plans to give a direct fight to the ruling TMC in 2016, given the disarray of the CPM and other left parties who have been and continue to be the main opposition there. Sources say the BJP's blueprint for 2016 for Bengal is ready.
The recent clashes in Birbhum district in West Bengal saw the BJP swinging into action. A central team of the party reached the district to take stock of the situation, something that had never happened before. Even the political clashes in the state are now between workers of the TMC and the BJP. The BJP's growing presence in West Bengal is a sign of things to come.
पश्चिम बंगाल की स्थिति है वो स्थिति बहुत संतोषजनक नहीं है। हर दिन जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं जो इस समय उनके पास कार्यकर्ता हैं टीएमसी के, वो अराजकता करते दिखते हैं। आतंकवादियों का एक सुरक्षित ठिकाना जैसा बनता जा रहा है और सरकार का जो एटीट्यूड है आतंकवाद के प्रति वो बहुत ही कैजुअल है, बल्कि कैजुअल ही नहीं बल्कि फ्रेंडली है।
In the last Lok Sabha elections, BJP not only retained the Darjeeling seat but also won Asansol. It also managed to increase its vote share. Compared to a 4.06% vote share in the 2011 assembly polls, BJP's vote share in the 2014 Lok Sabha elections was up more than 4 times to 16.84%. It's clear that the party has realized what works for it in West Bengal.
मुद्दे वहाँ की गरीबी है, वहाँ पे बेरोजगारी है, असुरक्षा का माहौल है, आतंकवाद है। ये मुद्दे पोलराइजेशन के नहीं है। ये मुद्दे तो देश को एकजुट करने के हैं और एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत के हैं, सबके साथ सबके विकास के हैं।
The Trinamool Congress, on the other hand, is in trouble following the Sharda chit fund scam and also the recent clashes in Burdwan. But the BJP's increasing vote share has come from the left party's account. Even as the Congress tries to create a secular front in the state, the left dismisses all such talk.
We cannot have any political alliance or understanding with the Congress. Be very clear, all India, anywhere in the country, anywhere, including West Bengal. We are not thinking of that. That is not a matter for discussion even in our party.
Seeing the party situation in West Bengal and the BJP's turn in fortune there, the party's ambitions are not totally unfounded. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
2016 could be a very, very interesting year electorally. We're going to take a break here on the program. When we come back, more elections, this one to the upper house. 6 candidates of the Samajwadi Party have filed their nominations for the Rajya Sabha. We'll tell you who they are when we return. This is the news tonight. Keep it right here. Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. More news from across the country. 6 candidates of the Samajwadi Party, including its National General Secretary, Ram Gopal Yadav, have filed their nominations for the Rajya Sabha. Besides Ram Gopal Yadav, those who filed their nominations are Tazeen Fatima, she's the wife of UP Cabinet Minister Azam Khan, Neeraj Shekhar, the son of former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar, Ravi Prakash Verma, Javed Ali Khan, and Chandrapal Singh Yadav. The candidates filed their nominations in the presence of UP Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav and senior ministers in the state. The Samajwadi Party has 231 MLAs in the 403-member Legislative Assembly.
जरूरत है मतों की, उससे ज्यादा हमारे पास मत है, इसलिए कोई मजबूती ही मजबूती। अब राज्यसभा में हमारी संख्या 15 हो जाएगी।
More news from across the country that have made the headlines in Nationwide. Security forces in Jharkhand arrested Maoist faction leader Sushil Ganju. Ganju was a self-styled zonal commander of the CPI-ML. He reportedly led the Katia massacre in which 14 security personnel were killed. 7 Indian sailors held captive by Somali pirates returned home today. The pirates freed them in exchange for an undisclosed ransom back on the 31st of October. The sailors were on the ship MV Asphalt Venture that was hijacked in September of 2010. The central government is all set to launch the Universal Health Coverage Scheme from April next year. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan informed that the scheme is aimed at ensuring every citizen free medicines and health checkups across the country. The Wagah border blast has put Pakistan on high alert. Security forces took more than 20 people into custody, but in a surprising U-turn, just hours after cancelling the Beating the Retreat ceremony, Pakistani authorities now say that the public will be allowed to witness the flag-lowering ceremony at the border starting tomorrow.
A day after the deadly suicide blast, it will be business as usual at the Wagah border. Hours after requesting India to cancel the flag-lowering ceremony, Pakistan is going ahead with it, stating that they have all the evidence from the blast site they need. On the other side of the border, Indian forces are staying on high alert.
बीएसएफ अपनी ओर से पूरी तरह से सतर्क है और अपनी हमारे सुरक्षा प्रबंध एकदम चाक-चौबंद है.
21 suspects are in custody for Sunday's blast. Among them is a suspected suicide bomber from Multan district. Police officials also issued a sketch of 17-year-old Abdul Rahman, who has been missing for a month in the old city of Lahore.
तमाम अस्पतालों में इमरजेंसी का नफाज कर दिया गया है. तमाम पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ जो है वो अस्पतालों में मौजूद है और अस्पतालों में सब कोशिश की जा रही है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अच्छी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड की जा सके ज़ख्मियों को.
The death toll has gone up to 61. Among the dead are 11 women and 3 security personnel. Over 100 injured people are hospitalized.
हमारा दिल तो खून के आंसू रो रहा है कि इतना बड़ा नुकसान होगा जो कभी इसकी तलाफी नहीं हो सकती. सिक्योरिटी भी है, हर चीज़ भी है. पता नहीं इसमें हमारी गलतियां हैं या दीगर की गलतियां जो हमारे सामने आ रही हैं.
The suicide blast on the Pakistani side of Wagah border, triggered on the eve of Muharram, has forced the entire country into red alert. Security agencies have suspended mobile services in some areas. The trade to India through the Atari-Wagah route has also come to a standstill. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the fact that this happened in Lahore, in Punjab, which is Nawaz Sharif's place of home in that sense, does raise huge questions. It gives a completely different magnitude altogether. The attack, of course, has had its fallout on this side as well. Here in India, concerns have been raised on our side of the border. The BSF has been put on high alert to try and avert any plans of a similar attack, God forbid, if it were to happen. Land trade between the two countries, and this is the only point through which the two countries trade, that's been halted.
It's a ceremony that is cheered by thousands of Indians and Pakistanis every day. But it has now been silenced by a suicide blast that left over 60 dead and hundreds fighting for their lives. The fact that it happened literally at a stone's throw distance has sent fear among those residing close to the border on the Indian side.
मैं बाहर खेतां ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਰੈਕਟਰ ਚਲਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆਈ ਤੇ ਐਂ ਲੱਗਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਟਰੱਕ ਟਰੁੱਕ ਚ ਆਮ ਹੁੰਦ ਖਲੋਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਟਾਇਰ ਟੂਰ ਫਟਿਆ
ਤੇ ਡਰ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਆ ਪਰ ਬੀਐਸਐਫ ਤੇ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਰ
The blast prompted the BSF to step up vigil. Trade between India and Pakistan through the Atari-Wagah route has come to a halt. Experts have raised security concerns after the blast.
This incident took place so close to the Wagah border, which really means that if a perpetrator can reach that far, the probability that the same kind of an attack can take place either on the Indian side or along the border.
The beating retreat ceremony will continue for the time being at Wagah. Security was beefed up by adding another tier over a kilometer from the main entrance to the Parade Avenue. The parking area has also been designated far away from the main entrance due to security concerns. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, from terror in the subcontinent to the global war on terror, the Islamic State is slowly spreading its wings in Syria. They've gained control of another gas field in Homs. This is the second gas field seized by IS after a week-long battle with government forces. IS has already declared a caliphate in the territories they've taken over so far. Following the seizure, they've posted 18 photographs on social media websites showing IS flags raised in the Jahar gas field. Meanwhile, the Iraqi Peshmerga forces have fired several rounds of mortar shells in Kobani as they joined their fellow Kurds in this fight. In Iraq, too, government officials have confirmed that the IS has killed more than 300 members of a tribe in the western province of Anbar. That includes dozens of women and children. Their bodies were dumped in a well. Inhuman. We're going to focus more on international stories in Global Buzz. In Ukraine, the pro-separatist self-proclaimed Prime Minister of the Donetsk People's Republic, Alexander Zakharchenko, has been declared winner of the elections in the war-ravaged eastern part of the country. The elections, though, have been condemned right across the world. The European Union has taken a stand against them. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has already termed it unlawful. He's told Russia not to recognize the result of the vote. China has said that the docking of its submarines in Sri Lanka was, quote, common practice and not unusual. The remark follows concerns raised in Indian strategic circles over two recent visits of PLA naval submarines. The Chinese Defense Ministry clarified, saying it was an international common practice for submarines to stop for refueling as well as crew refreshment at an overseas port. The Bangladesh Supreme Court has upheld the death penalty handed down to Islamist leader Muhammad Qamar-uz-Zaman for atrocities committed during the 1971 War of Independence. The 62-year-old leader was the Assistant Secretary General of the Jamaat-e-Islami Party. He was found guilty by a special war crimes tribunal back in May of last year. He's accused of genocide and torture of unarmed civilians during the war 40 years ago. Preliminary investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board has revealed that an improper pilot command caused the movable tail surfaces to be deployed prematurely, and that is what caused the Virgin Galactic spacecraft to crash last week. The sequence of events suggests that the rocket separated normally from its carrier and the propulsion system also worked normally until the tail surfaces, called feathers, were deployed. All right, from one death to another, we're going to take a break. When we come back, for every hero, there's a villain. One of the legendary villains of Hindi cinema, Sadashiv Amrapurkar, passed away today. We'll look back at his life and times when the News Tonight returns. Welcome back to the News Tonight. Seasoned Bollywood actor Sadashiv Amrapurkar died at the Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in Mumbai today. The actor was hospitalized a couple of weeks ago for lung infection. He was fondly known as Tatya by his family and friends. Amrapurkar played some memorable roles both in Hindi as well as in Marathi films.
31 years after his iconic portrayal of pure menace in his Hindi film debut, Sadashiv Amrapurkar passed away in Mumbai on Monday. He was 64.
कल रात को जैसे कि आप जानते हैं और 2:45 बजे के करीब पापा ब्रीथ हिज लास्ट और बहुत सभी ने बहुत कोशिश की उन्हें बचाने की, पर जो इंटरस्टिशियल लंग डिसीज़ था उसमें हम उन्हें नहीं बचा पाए। मैं जानती हूँ आप सब लोग हमारे दुख में शामिल हैं और आप सबको उतनी तकलीफ हो रही है जितनी उनके परिवार को हो रही है।
For a man who dripped pure villainy on screen, his friends remember him for his many social activities.
मराठी जगत के ऐसे जो कलाकार थे जिन्होंने एक प्रगतिशील विचारधारा के साथ जन आंदोलनों को सहयोग दिया, उनमें से एक अमूल्य मान्यवर थे।
Director Govind Nehlani gave Amrapurkar his big break after spotting him in the Marathi stage play Hands Up. His portrayal of the evil Rama Shetty in Ardhasatya bagged him a Filmfare Award. A second Filmfare Award also for a negative role came in 1991 when he played a ruthless eunuch in Sadak.
ये बहुत बड़ी क्षति है। उनकी जो परफॉर्मेंसेस थी, जो उनका काम था, जो हमारी फिल्मों के इतिहास में अगर आप विलन्स के जो सबसे 10 अच्छे रोल अगर आप छांटें तो 2 उसमें से सदाशिव अमरापुरकर के हैं।
Born Ganesh Kumar Narvode, Amrapurkar adopted the name Sadashiv in 1974. He took to acting in school, playing parts in over 50 plays and Marathi films till 1979. In a career spanning over 3 decades, Amrapurkar's power-packed performances ranged from comedy to supporting roles in over 300 movies. He also left an indelible mark in Bengali, Odia and Haryanvi movies.
And may his soul rest in peace. Thanks for watching.